It's monthly Mormon Mondays. It's time for the secret handshake. Tune in and reach through the veil. It's time for monthly Mormon Monday.
Oh, yeah. Another monthly Mormon Monday. As a quick introduction, Heidi is an exmo, and I've been deciding what I am, and I think I've got two things. Maybe you can help me figure this out. I think I'm a POMO, which would be a potential Mormon to the outside observer. But I think personally, I'm more like an agmo, which would be like an agnostic Mormon. Which means that like I never actually have to go to church. I can just read the books and maybe a nomo, like a Gnostic Mormon.
Well, nomo is close to pneumo, which is what Jacob is. So,
well, I'm not a new Mormon, but I mean like a Gnomo, like GNOMO.
I think you should be a Macemo.
A Mamo?
Mason Mormon.
Okay, I'll go with Mamo for now. So we've got Heidi Luv, the Exmo, and Paranoid American, the Mamo.
Oh my gosh!
So welcome to another episode. Mormon. The whole point of this really is because I'm fascinated with American history and American culture, especially the parts that you don't get to learn about. And when I joined the military, it was my first big brush with Mormonism. I had a neighbor as I was growing up that was like behind me that just wasn't allowed to play on Sundays. And like,
you couldn't figure it out.
And the only TV show they were allowed to watch was Star Trek. It was the weirdest, or like Battlestar Galactica, like any space show they were allowed to watch.
And Harry Potter too now.
Well, at the time,
now
definitely no.
Yeah,
like all the Nick were off. Ren and Stimpy was out. Simpsons were out. Whenever one of my favorite shows would come on, I would have to leave his house and go home because he literally.
You're like, I gotta go. Yeah,
seriously, and it hurt our friendship. And I always wondered, like, I just figured Mormon just meant like they went to church and like took it even more serious than we did.
Oh, like it was the real serious people, right?
I thought that's all I knew about it. And then when I joined the military, I had a whole bunch of Mormons like in my boot camp for whatever reason.
Where did you grow up that you weren't around Mormons at all? In the East?
In South Florida. I grew up
so that makes more sense.
Florida, Collier County. And it was like the only Mormon I had ever met at that point. And I just figured, they're like,
this is a weird guy. Yeah.
Yeah. I figured they went to church, the same church as me, just maybe like a street down or something. Because what the heck was Episcopalian and Baptist and Pentecostal and all this stuff? To me, it was, we had the nicer church. Like they just couldn't afford the cool stained glass windows. That was the only real difference.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the poor church.
That's how I understood it. And that's where my
now they're the rich church. You know all about it.
I was actually talking with Andres the other day about this, and I'm curious. Let's say that like all the other religions have fallen or they've like splintered into a million different factions, and the only ones remaining are essentially Scientology and Mormonism.
Oh my gosh. It's the same. They just combine. No, they would just
if they battled though.
You're my brother. They wouldn't. They would be like, "Come to our church with us. Here's a Book of Mormon."
But if they did,
let me do it better.
The Mormons
Here's the Book of Mormon.
They have gone in wars. Right?
They have, but only when they try to stop their shit. Like only if you try to stop them, which like ultimately Scientology avoid problems, and so do Mormons. So I feel like it'd be the most pacifist thing. We'd have to have more angry people. One has to be angry. Well, because then they'll fight back.
If they're the only two remaining religions, then that means all the angry people on the planet are going to end up getting divided between them. So there would be a conflict at some point. So I don't know.
Like they would join together because when you learn about Scientology and you learn about the highest level, I'm like, it's the same fucking thing. Same thing.
I want to know more about that because I'd feel better about our future if there was a future where Scientology and Mormonism did come together as one as opposed to fighting each other. No,
No.
why would not? I mean, if there was,
I am. You know what? It's totally fine. You know why? Because I'm gonna go live in the mountains all alone. I'm good. I'm super good. My kid's in nature school right now. She knows how to start a fire. She's 10. She knows how to start a fire with flint and everything. She caught a fish with her bare hands the other day at school because this is the kind of school we have her in. So she's good. We're good. I'm going to the mountains of Utah. Come visit me. Yeah.
Do you think you could survive the Alive show, or what is it called, Alone?
Oh gosh, I love that show. I'm not that hardcore. Like that's crazy. That's like a whole nother.
Is it though? Level. Because I mean, if you're catching fish with your bare hand, but then like, where does it stop? Like, are you still wanting to go back home to a heater and AC?
Kill
at the end
something
of the day?
And stuff. But like the AC, yeah, the heater, maybe not. As long as I'm not gonna die. But like, oh, I hate being hot. That's why I can't be. I can't. I went to Hawaii and people were like, isn't it beautiful? I'm like, it's hot. It's so gross. It's like hot, wet. It's sticky. And I'm from Utah and it's really dry here. So people come here and they get nosebleeds and it's like all horrific for them. And I'm like, yeah, this is my jam. Like I like to be big hair, Heidi.
I feel like this might be a +1 Mormons. Like I'm gonna start keeping a tally over who would win
of plus and negative. Oh no!
And I do think that Mormons have a longer track record of being able to survive in the wilderness versus
right? Because they are super crazy about prepping. Have you not known this? This is a crazy Mormon thing. This is real.
Well, because the end times are always like 12 years away, right?
Yes. No. It's always been 5 to 10 years away. Since I was a little kid, it was 5 years away back then when I was little, a long time ago.
The book that we're going to go over today.
Way before you were little. I was little. And
in the 1800s, they were still saying like, it's going to be next summer. Like it wasn't even like some distant vague thing. It was literally like, look to your left. Now look to your right.
Yes.
Both of those people.
They're like, we have to sleep with all these women now because like tomorrow, there might not be like a chance. We got to get in there. That's what
I understand the logic.
So. Yeah. Well, yeah.
I mean,
so he was like, yeah, very much. He was the first YOLO and didn't know it. And Joseph didn't live long. So I guess it worked out. I mean,
he knew it.
Yeah, he knew what was up because he probably had an Abraxas stone and he was like, it told me I was going to die soon. So.
Well, you're already bringing up the Abraxas stone.
Oh my gosh!
I just wanted to point out.
I had to do it.
I read this book recently called "Early Mormonism and the Magic Worldview" by D. Michael Quinn. And you said that you've read this a few times a while ago, so you might be a little rusty.
Yeah, I have it.
I've got a bunch of fresh notes.
Awesome.
And if anyone wants to read this, you can I had to borrow it in chunks and then took all my notes, but it's like back in the digital library. So you can go and check it out or whatever. Apparently it's expensive and it's hard to find, but here it is.
It is expensive. Yes.
So, but you don't got to do all that fancy book learning because I'm going to do it for you. And I'm going to go through some of the notes with Heidi and just see what she has to say about some of this. Like you're going to have to explain all this. First, do you know what happened?
Do you know what happened to Quinn after he wrote this book or during this process? He got excommunicated. Yes, he started this whole thing and then he found out he was gay. So even though he was super Mormon-y and like a dad and stuff, and then he was like, maybe not. And this happens a lot because they force us to get married at like 12, not really, but like 18 and 19. And for the boys, sometimes 21, but like we're too young to know what the hell we're doing. So yeah, he was a dad and like super like established and everything. And his wife kind of knew-ish. She knew, and they were trying to work through it kind of. I mean, he was legitimately attracted to her, but he said, just her, like he hadn't had that happen a lot in life. So that's why he married her. He was like, oh, this is the one. And then it didn't work. So he got excommunicated.
So was that just because he didn't love God enough?
No, he was gay. You can't be gay. Can't do the gay. Can't be gay Mormon.
Do you turn gay because you don't love God enough?
I mean, to them, they would say he didn't actually know. What they would say is, and I've had this said to me last week on YouTube. Super thanks to the shout out to the guy that said I was too lazy to live it. actually not worthy or something. I'm like, yeah, okay, 34 years in the trenches. I don't know if that's lazy or not wanting to do things. Okay, whatever, guy. But they basically say you didn't put your all into it, because Mormon theology isn't like grace theology, like what you're used to. It's not like Jesus is going to save us with his blood just because. The Mormons are like, okay, you have 75 cents that you have earned with hard work and penance, and now you are short a quarter, and Jesus will fill in that quarter if you're good. That's how they play. So
Santa Claus.
And nothing is free. Yes, nothing is free in life for Mormons. You have to earn that, and they know it. And when you truly find out about grace, it kind of rocks you a little bit, like real grace. Like, wait. And you're very untrusting because everything costs. Like, you're like, no. I'll do that myself, or I'll earn that, or I'll do this. And I think this is why they're successful, to be honest, because the drive is insane, because you've got to keep up on your church callings and your church stuff and all this whole life over here that really should take like your whole life. But also you go to work and do this, and then you have 6 kids. Just throw 6 kids. Like, it's like having one baby and swimming, and then somebody hands you another baby and you're still trying to swim, and then they hand you 4 more. And you're like, well, that was fun. But like,
if you consider 6 kids little, then I can see why they kicked you out for being lazy.
Yeah.
Like, is the bar. Like, once you've had 12, you don't even have room to complain.
I mean, I only did 6, so I guess I'm lazy. Yeah.
I mean, you got halfway there, but it was.
I also worked. Yes. I didn't stay home. I actually thought maybe we should go to school and kind of push against this narrative, because my husband wasn't very stable. I was like, he seems like he can't keep a job. So I think I better do that now. Again, back to that whole swimming thing. You just never give up. Like, I will say, it gave me great strength and fortitude. So
what happens if there's somebody that's gay and Mormon, and like, can you go to temple and say,
did you not hear? No.
Well, no, I understand that, but like, is there like a Mormon conversion therapy, or is it like the second you say it out loud, you're out?
They tried to do the Pray the Gay Away community kids thing, where then kids were dying in the wilderness therapy, actually. And then a couple years ago, they came out and said, even if your parents are gay and you come to church, you can't take the sacrament anymore. And then they had to go back. You better look that up. They had to backpedal that real quick. They were like losing members left and right. Because even if you're not the one that's gay, you probably have someone gay in your family. Like, my daughter's gay. I mean, like, all these things that happen in your family, like, oh, all of a sudden you're going to judge me because my mom's gay. You're not going to let these children, right? Come on to me, little children. That's a big Mormon thing. So it caused all kinds of dissension in every single rank. And boy, did it make the news. There was like, they're still pissed about it, and they barely like took it back and were like, JK, just kidding, for real, we love you, we love the gays. And it's so bad, but they still won't let you go to temple. They still won't let you have a temple recommend. You can go to church and stuff, but you cannot be, you're not temple worthy.
Is there like a co-Mormonism that does allow gay people? I'm
sure there is. I'm sure there's splinters. There's so many of them that if this or that doesn't fit their need, then they move on to somewhere else. And I think as well they should.
How does Mormonism just view adoption in general? Like, regardless of.
Oh no, adoption's good. No, adoption's amazing. Then you go to the temple, like we're staring at. You take your little baby there, and then you make it your baby for time and all eternity. For sure you do.
Okay, so is there any
interesting fact? The adoption of the Native American children back in the day were the only children that could fully participate in certain rights back then, because they were adopted by white people, just so you know.
Did they have like special extra rights because they were also Native with their Native American rights within the Mormon temple?
They were considered to be watched very closely so that their skin can turn white and delightsome. I'm not kidding.
How long did that take?
And well, apparently because of the trauma from many Native American members and Polynesian members, it took a lot of lemon juice, because it actually ruined a lot of people's lives. And they started never going out in the sun, always applying lemon juice, trying to lighten their skin multiple ways, and having a lot of self-hatred. So that sucked.
Does that work?
They make me very angry. Yes, they make me angry because my family, you have to understand my family. Like my daughter's gay. My brother married a very dark black lady and they talk horrible about black people. My niece is half black, like all these things. My mom married a Latino. My sister married a half Polynesian, he's half Chinese and half Hawaiian. Like, so my family's not the typical Mormons. Like, this is not normal, like at all.
Is there anything in Mormonism that's like inherently like incompatible with being gay or black or Hawaiian? Or is it just like...
Oh, black for sure. You cannot be. Barely in 19, I believe it was, 50. I have lots of notes on this upstairs. In the 1950s, I don't want to mess it up. They barely let the black people have the priesthood. Well, if you know anything about our talks, you can't get to the highest heaven without the priesthood. And they told them, even though you get the priesthood and you might go to the celestial kingdom now, you will go as our servants. So I'm sure that made black people feel just amazing. The whole white and delightsome narrative, even Ezra Taft Benson in the 60s had given a talk saying, look at this girl. She's now with her Lamanite. Lamanite is Nephi's brother, Laman, right? Laman and Lemuel. So Nephi was the main, and Laman and Lemuel were the cursed brown people. And that's where the Native Americans came from because they weren't as good and wholesome as Nephi was, right? They didn't mind all the rules, so they turned brown. And they will often refer to them back in the past as our dear Lamanite brothers. Just such bullshit.
What about
it's so bad?
What would the Mormons consider like the over tan Jersey Shore look? Like people that are white but have like cooked themselves to being brown?
Yeah, my brother's kind of brown like that. He was, but just naturally.
Like, are you allowed to have like a really dark tan as a Mormon?
I think they just were always like, is he brown or is he brown? Like they were like, don't want to start those questions. Yeah. Then. Yeah. What color is your dad again? Like, oh, his dad has blue eyes. He's okay. But like, it's just, it's not good. And the way they have treated, marginalized people in general, like whether it be race, whether it be, gay people, anything like this, it's just bad. Like, this is not what Christ teaches. This is not Christ-like behavior. And it makes me kind of sick, especially with my family. And I don't know. I know there's a guy that actually argues with Jacob all the time. This Caruco something. I don't know, but he's
actually.
Right. Well, I don't know how he can be a Mormon because I don't know how anybody of darker skin can be a Mormon and feel good about it and feel good about those roots, right? That makes me just shake my head and go, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? What is happening? Are you putting lemon juice on? Are you Beyonce and now you're 7 shades lighter? What's happening there? I just want to know, why is no one black anymore and happy about it? It's weird.
Is Beyonce turning Mormon? Weird. Is that the claim?
I don't know, but did you see her? She's white and she's blonde hair.
Well, have you seen her? I think the phrase is white and delightsome.
She is a clone. I think she's a clone, but yes. I think they cloned her and we're like, nobody will notice. And I'm like,
I want to understand more about the incompatibility. We're going to get into that in future episodes. But again, this is growing up. The what I knew about Mormons is that if they were driving by and they saw that you were poor, they would stop and they'd give you an apple and then they would keep driving again. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh my gosh.
There was like these series of commercials for the Latter-day Saints.
Give you an apple.
And they would play over and over during like major blocks of programming. And there was just hilarious. This episode over and over. And they would be driving down an old like country road. And I think there was,
and they picked the apples.
No, it was like it was like a Mormon family in a pickup truck with a big crate of apples on the back, and they were like driving down or something, or it was hilarious. Vaguely. I'm sure I'll try and find like a screenshot.
Find this. This is hilarious. I love this because we're different ages, so I don't remember this.
So nice. And if you were like, and they don't like black people, I would be like, what are you talking about? They don't. They're giving out apples.
Yeah, they're giving an apple to the black. No, they will not tell you any of this horrible stuff. They still will be super nice. and tell you, and then you're baptized, and they don't remember it's levels. And I think you understand about this stuff. You don't get all the knowledge until you go up levels, right? And they don't want to scare people away. So they're hoping and praying, like, I hope you didn't hear the King Follett sermon or Brigham Young's talks about black people and that they should be killed if even one drop of blood mixes with white blood. Like, and so I think they just kind of hide it to the best of their abilities and pray that like they see the apples only. And then like, oh, by the way,
so like Sunday morning downtown Salt Lake City, if there's an interracial gay couple walking around.
No. Oh, that's
like,
no.
What is it though? Like, is there a bouncer that's like,
not
no,
now? Not now, but like I will tell you, as a kid, like I was always the pusher of limits. I don't know why. I was just born like this. And my grandpa and grandma were super racist, as most Mormons were in the 80s. And I would always say, but what if I marry the guy next door in the trailer park that beats me religiously, but he's like a super good Mormon? Or I marry this black return missionary that's amazing. He's amazing. He's all the things you should be. And they're like, shut up. They wouldn't even answer. They would just be like, we're not talking about this, Heidi. Why do you do this? And then my brother did marry a black girl. And I was like, yes, this is so good. Because everybody thought it was definitely going to be me. And I thought so too, probably, because I dated everybody. I didn't care. I didn't care what any color of person was. In fact, I learned Spanish because I dated a guy from Honduras that didn't speak English. So I figured it out. And I was like, it's definitely going to be Heidi. Everybody was like preparing themselves. And then my brother brought home his wife and I was like, oh, this is the best, because he was in the Navy and he didn't care, and she was from Chicago and her name was Chicago-ish. She was from the hood. She didn't mess around. I was waiting for somebody to say something to her. I was like, oh, do it. Just do it. I want to watch. It's going to be the best. And I loved her. She was great. Me and her got along really good until they got divorced. And then, I'm a little ghetto and she's a little ghetto and that didn't work. So I have to go on my brother's side, In
2024, would they block you from going in?
The temple?
Or would they well, not the temple, because the temple you have to go on like a special day, right? Like,
right. If they knew, I don't know what would happen. They definitely would not. They would block you from taking the sacrament. You would not get that passed to you. There's no way.
Really?
Mm-mm. No.
So there's no like,
no,
black people can't get sacrament in 2020.
Oh no, gay people. No, gay people.
Okay. So
black people
gay
can.
people aren't
Since
allowed
the 1950s.
to. Black people are. Are there anyone? Is there anyone else that's not allowed to? Is it just gay
Probably
people?
Maybe trans. I don't know about that one. That might be considered gay. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know where they stand on that, which also, here's a fun fact. What if they're not gay? What if they're not at all gay and they're just trans? Because a lot of them aren't. A lot of them stay, even if they turn into a woman, stay with the woman they were with, right? Like Jenner, he would have, but Chris was like, nah. So I'm like, okay, so then what? He's not breaking anything, but they're very weird about, like, even when I was young, they're like, if God wanted, you to have tattoos, he'd have put them there. If God wanted you to have holes in your ears, my great grandma this great grandma over there in that photo, she never pierced her ears. She always wore clip-ons. She never did any of that. Like, she was to the law. And I'm like, okay, kind of weird. But yeah, they're funny about any of that. So maybe they would not be happy if you changed your body, right? Like your sex.
It's weird just because it seems like these rules can just change on a dime. Like year to year, they just change.
Yeah, no, they do, because there's direct revelation. Well, because this is what happens usually, honestly. In the 50s, and I'm trying to find the year because this is bad that I can't remember. I think it's 1957, but I don't want to mess it up. Let's see. Year of the priesthood, LDS to black men.
And I'm wondering too, like if there's like retro.
No, 1978.
Wow.
1978, late. So they knew, and it was really frowned upon. And if you read any of Brigham's stuff now, I don't know about Joseph. He wasn't so racial. Okay. But he had a black member and he baptized a black man, and he was kind of an abolitionist, and he wasn't like that. But Brigham Young was awful. And he would say, if you were to find your wife in bed with a black man, better to run them both through with a sword than to let her live with that shame. Or if a black man and mixes with the seed of the white woman, or vice versa, that not only should they kill them, but kill their children too. That's direct quotes, people. Like, just to
he
fix
knew how
it.
to wield his sword, he wouldn't have that problem in the first place.
Exactly. Right. He only had one kid per woman and a little bit less than that.
Shots fired, Brigham Young. What are you doing? You sound like a lazy Mormon to me.
Brigham had no game. You know, my polygamous brother-in-law, his family, he's not polygamous anymore, but he grew up polygamous, very polygamous. He was related to Warren Jeffs. And 3 moms had over 30 kids. In fact, he couldn't tell me how many kids. He couldn't tell me how many brothers and sisters he had anymore.
Each or 30 combined?
No, 30 total to 3. And then he ended up with 13 moms at some point. And I asked him how many kids, and he's like,
kids? You mean army?
Like his family. And I'm like, you don't know how many brothers and sisters you have? And he's like, no. I was like, that's cool.
If there's a huge Mormon family like that, right? Let's say that, I don't know, like a traditional Mormon family where you've got maybe 50, 60 brothers or something. Does everyone get along, or are there lots of infighting? Is there lots of drama in that?
The polygamy, in the polygamy thing, it's not like people think, like where all the women are cushy in one bed and they all are together raising families. No, this is a scheduled thing where, like, maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Martha has him, Tuesday, Thursday, whatever. And then every rotating Sunday, somebody else. And then you kind of get kicked off the sleep around list if you can't produce kids anymore. So if you have a hysterectomy,
are the kids friends with each other, or are they also
yes, but like he is not as close with some than others. So like it depends on the mom. So like some moms are home moms and some moms are work moms. So if you have the mom that's a home mom, you might be really close with certain kids because she babysits those kids while the moms go to work. But if you're one of the other kids that have another home mom, say there's 2 home moms, you might not see them except on holidays, you know? So it's a very interesting dynamic. He did tell me this when there was only 30 kids, only 30 kids, and 3 moms. He grew up and said he had a wonderful life and he wouldn't change it for anything, and that his dad did it right, quote unquote, correct. And he actually is not a downlooker on polygamy itself, just about the age of the girls. He was really upset when Warren started pulling some shit because his the father of him, Warren, Rulon Jeffs, did not do that. They were all 18 and over. And so he said when all of that changed, that was what got him kicked out. He said something. They were building the new Zion in Texas. And then he was like, so this is his uncle. He's not just going up. He was written in the journals that he would be possibly the next prophet, my brother-in-law. And so he's a steed. Not only is he related to Warren, but Rulon, the grandfather, he married his granddaughter. So he's like double in there. That's a high position. Like that's a high regard. And actually CPS refused to give his kids back to him because of the journals, because they thought that he was still deeply in that whole thing. And they came and took all those kids in Texas. And he just mentioned something to Warren Jeffs. And he said, you know what? I think you need to go back and talk to the council. When you go talk to a council, whether it be mainstream Mormonism or fundamentalist or whatever, it's not good. When you go before a council, you're in deep shit. And so he said, oh,
they're not giving you like a Chili's gift certificate at any point?
Definitely no rewards. Yeah, no rewards here. You're definitely in trouble. And so he's like, oh, well, okay. And he goes, I worked all day that day for like 14 hours. He told me to turn around and drive home to Utah from Texas to go to this council meeting. And when I got home, my whole house was cleared out. My wives were gone. My children were gone. And he never saw them again for 5 years. And actually, he never got his daughter back ever. She's still deeply ingrained into fundamentalism. They don't let go of the girls. He got his sons back, but not until they were 20, like old. And so it's a really sad story for anybody listening to this. I like to promote this because he spoke out, and they don't do that. Even when they leave, they don't do that because they have been ingrained that they are going to hell and that he is a son of perdition, as I am a daughter of perdition, because we left with full knowledge. And his name is Isaac, and his story is called Isaac's Story. It's available on Amazon. So highly recommended. He was really, his life story is sad, and I have an episode about it. It's just, yeah, it's sad. So anyway,
and unfortunately, he now owes me 15% royalties
yes,
out of
there
anything. You go. So my lawyers will be contacting his lawyers.
Oh man, I'm pretty sure he doesn't have them. He's sweet. He's a sweet guy. Promote him for free. He's awesome. So, all right, let's get into this.
Yeah, I'll start going over some of the notes. And it was interesting because the book that they have for rent starts out with a bunch of handwritten notes, and someone was like really big into this. So I'm curious, and they just kind of like stop after a while. But so the book starts out kind of hot, and it says that here I'll give you one thing that I came away with this book before we start reading from it. And I didn't really understand. I don't know if this is true or not, but this is like a really novel idea for me. And that's that folk magic in general was incredibly common throughout all of America up until the 1800s or so. And I guess I've always had a little more ignorant, naive idea that they all came over on the Mayflower and everyone was just like straight up Puritan, and everyone was all about like trying to stamp out the witches and the goblins and the black magic all over the place. But that wasn't the case. That was a true minority. And the vast general population of all sorts of religions and cultures, they all had versions of folk magic and like magical practices and talismans and things that might not be considered like Christian the way that like the purity test Christian would happen. And then through the course of these like revival tents where they would go like city to city and put up the big tent and it looks like there's a circus and people show up, and in reality what they were doing was showing them like miracle healing, speaking in tongues. They were doing like all sorts of premonitions, like knowing people's names and like just showing all these supernatural abilities. And then at the end of it and being like, and that's Jesus. So if any of you believe in this folk magic and water divining and like all these different things that you might have thought was old country from great great grandma, and you're not sure where it came from, that's actually like Christian magic. But they didn't call it magic. It was just like, that's this Christ energy or born againism or whatever. And through that, those like traveling tents, I guess, that's what consolidated people into thinking like, oh, we're Christian and we're not folk. We don't believe in folk magic and all that. We believe in like Christian stuff. And so like if you were to take someone that thinks they're super Christian and plop them back a couple hundred years, like they would look around and think people were doing black magic, but really it's the exact same. Anyways, that was one of the takeaways from there.
It's true. Yep.
Some of the claims here about Joseph Smith and Mormons like doing black magic and believing in evil magic, it was almost like because they didn't get swept up into that revival Christianity thing. So they kind of like kept their folk magic, but it went underground because they never had this like public thing that said, and it's free to like, you can do it out in the open now. Like everyone's doing it. It's so cool. You know what I mean? Like the Mormons were like, whoa, no, we don't do that. So they kind of kept it secret. Do I have that somewhat correct?
Yes. Yeah. They don't like, they're very much a level up people and they're very much a secret society. I think you know this, like they don't like their cards on the table at all. Like if they do keep certain things, they don't like sharing them. And in fact, when Lucy Mack Smith did write, which is Joseph's mom, the thing she wrote in her biography and multiple books, they tried to burn them all. Brigham Young tried to have these completely annihilated and it didn't work. And so it is what it is, but yeah.
Very Catholic of them.
Yes, very. Yes.
so this book starts out by defining magic in a couple ways, and it kind of backs up some of what I was just saying, but it says that there's 4 separate categories of magic. So one is magic by the grace of God. Another one is by the assistance of an angel. Another one is by the assistance of a daemon or a demon. And then finally from your own industry and ability. And that these 4 different types of magic are the ones that are basically acceptable in different ways. And I guess they all exist in Mormonism. This is all within the context of Mormon magic.
Yes.
So those are the 4 versions. So this
makes you wonder about that channeling. Well, right? You're not really. Yeah. You're not really anymore.
It's a type of magic that was acknowledged at some point. It's no longer allowed to do, but it seems like someone was allowed to summon daemons at some point in the past.
I think it was Joseph. Oh, wait. Just keep going.
And then they mentioned these different parallels, which is and this is for the book. This has nothing to do with Mormonism. This is the context of what this book was written in. So he brings up a bunch of environmental parallels, literary parallels, and historical ones. And he tries
he was a Mormon when he was doing this book. And even though he got kicked out for being gay, he fully believed in all of the things that the Mormons believe. So he's not writing this book against Mormons, just so people know.
So he wasn't an exmo when he wrote this.
No, and not anti, never. Like he was very all about it. And so, yeah.
And he didn't realize he was a gay-mo until after he finished publishing it.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
That's the right word, right? Or is it a homo?
Yes. No.
Is it just homo? Or is it homo-mo?
Let's do gay-mo because it's funnier.
Okay.
Not to offend gay people. It's funny, the word.
That's the name, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
The issue central to the New Testament is the early church fathers strongly disagreed with the pagan Celsus and Jewish rabbis that Jesus was a magician. Porphyry, another pagan writer, dismissed Jesus as not even an extraordinary magician and called Apostle Peter just a dabbler in the black arts. And then it says that well-known medieval passion plays emphasized accusations against Christ the sorcerer. An early LDS periodical alluded to an ancient claim of Celsus that Jesus practiced magic he learned in Egypt. So that's a pretty specific claim.
Very Jungian of him. Yay.
How does LDS like when you were growing up teach that Jesus was a magician, or is this like really low key stuff?
This is secret. This is like the pulling the whole thing out of a hat. When we grew up, not a thing. I have a whole new presentation because I'm trying to get more things out there now that I've talked a lot on a lot of podcasts and explain to them, like, yes, they say this stuff. They say, oh, you Jewish people, you don't know anything. But yet, okay, they use a Urim and Thummim when I'm growing up. Do you know what that is, right? Like very occultic and Jewish of them. Like that's what they wear. They wear a breastplate of righteousness full of gems. And it's the Urim and Thummim. So they say this stuff and then turn around and use it. Right. That's how I grew up finding out how the book was translated. Now they're like, no, we pulled it out of a hat. And I'm like, no, you didn't. What? And all of us that are older Mormons were like, wait a minute, what the hell is going on? Because this was something that we were avid against. Like, no, he was with the plates at the desk, translating the stuff. Very, very studious of him. No, none of that. So
yeah, those facts seem to shift around. It's another one of those things that every year the Mormon Church is allowed to just kind of like push and pull at that story a little bit.
I think what happens is, depending on, because did you see that the Russell M. Nelson, the current president of the church, actually took Joseph Smith's hat out of the dark dungeons of the deep abyss underneath the temple and put it on? And like, we
showed that picture last time, and you were saying that was a huge event.
It was big because all of us that are old went, what? Like, it shook us a little bit because we were like, this isn't real. We were told this isn't a thing. And then now it's a thing. So it depends on how many people get the knowledge. And then they're like, screw it. Just like the seer stone, they couldn't hide it anymore. So they ganked it out and put it in the museum. And we're like, ta-da, there it is. Go check it out. Pay some money.
Pretty much all these claims are going to be admitted over time by the Mormons.
Yes.
I don't know.
I think they can't hide it.
Because this is the closest to like a real-time development of is LDS even really Christian?
Religion.
Do you consider it Christian?
Well, they say that. Do I think so? No, I think they pray to Abraxas. But do they know that on a level? Like, no. I think that somewhere in there,
if you're 7 through 15 and you're going to temple as, you know, like a young Heidi, how often are they talking about Jesus in particular at church?
When I was young and going to church, because you can't go to temple, you got to have a special deal for that guy. And you can't go before you're 12 unless you're getting sealed because you were adopted. So, or sealed in general, maybe your parents went through later or something. But as a young kid, yes, I knew who Jesus was. Yes, he was kind of on the sidelines. We focused more on Joseph. And if you look up a hymn, this hymn says everything. It's like, follow the prophet, follow the prophet. And it goes on and on and on and on about the prophet always. And so we always talk about the prophet. We know their middle names. We can rehearse it. Like when I was really active, it was Thomas S. Monson. And I know his middle initial and I don't know why, but that's... That's what it was. Like you had to know the middle name and you had to know all the things. And see, it's Russell M. Nelson now. I still know. So it's like a weird thing. And if you're going to church and you're looking at the art everywhere, there is some Jesus, but there's a lot of Joseph. And their Jesus is amazing because he looks like he just got his hair done with like a nice frost and it's blonde. And he shakes it from the salt water because he looks like he just got off his surfboard. Like it's very weird.
Sounds like a game.
I was always like, yeah, I was always, he would have a man bun now. I'm certain he would.
The reason why this is so fascinating to me though, is that it almost feels like all of the abilities and all the stories and conflict ascribed to Jesus now from like a Christian perspective, that's happening almost in real time to Joseph Smith, where like every 50 years goes by, like he's got more magical abilities and like he had more plates and he did more things. And like, I don't know,
he's better. He's a god.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Because imagine
he's going to be the god
going for another 2,000 years, right? What happens to
then
Joseph
he would be
Smith
an ascended master, right? He would be an ascended master at that point, probably. Like if they get to the point where they're going, which I feel like they have gone, is very Gnostic. It's extremely Gnostic. And I feel like it maybe always was, and we just didn't know, right? Like it was hidden because they never counted on the internet. It screwed everything up for them. They were like
Scientology too.
Yeah, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, please don't."
See the internet coming.
Yes, right. They were like, "Please don't get on the internet. Like, if you want to know anything, go on our website." And then they had these like actual combative, like things where they would say, you know, don't doubt your doubts, don't doubt your faith. And don't get on the internet. And if you want to know something, go to your bishop or look at LDS.org. Like very, very cultish.
And definitely don't read the book that we're reading, I would assume.
Yeah.
Because
he's for a loop. Do you know what they would say to us when there was just books and not the internet was so much easier? How dare you read apostate books, Heidi? Are you serious? You're going to go to hell. You read a apostate book. That's on the no-no list. And that's why I'm able to find these amazing books because they get on the no-no list. And then I go to the stupid old bookstore and your grandma donated them because she's not supposed to have them anymore. And I'm like, yeah, yes, this is the best day ever because these are
It's nice
old
that they put like a little reading list together for you.
Yeah, they got a big one. Don't go here. I think it's all, computerized now. But yes, it's funny to me because you're right. They're very on the up and up on everything else, right? Like barcode scanning to buy your Jesus jammies and all the things. So like what happened? Why didn't you see this coming? The prophet should have been told with all this channeling we do. I think
they just need like a 21st century prophet. That's the only thing that
they do. They have one. No, they do.
Well,
the Russell M. Nelson. No. Every prophet, every president of the church is a prophet, seer, and revelator. No. That's why things change. So when you asked me before about racism, what happened was the prophet went and prayed and got a revelation that they could have the priesthood now. Ta-da! And also the prophet prayed when they messed up the gay thing because they first prayed and got the gay thing that you can't have the kids take the sacrament. And then they prayed again and they were like, oh, God was fickle that day. don't worry about that one. This is the way.
So did God change his mind according to them?
God did. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yep. And they can do that all the time because they have a living prophet. That's what he's called. Mm-hmm.
Man, there almost needs to be like a Mormon lobby that just asks God like a certain question like 50 times a day, so that
would be so fun.
Because what if like something that was never allowed becomes allowed for like an hour, but you wouldn't have known that if you only wait a year to pray about it and ask God.
Yeah,
and you wouldn't know that like all of a sudden you're allowed to drink coffee.
That polygamy was back. Polygamy back for 4 days
for an hour, and then it goes away again. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because who are we?
And then what do you do with the wives? Yeah. The wives are like, but I gave you all the things. And they're like, nah, sorry. Now you're used to chewing gum.
More like
they tell us that. Do you know that?
On Wall Street. And all of a sudden, like the stock tipper just like explodes. Like, oh my God, we can drink coffee. And everyone's like,
go.
And all of a sudden it's like, no. Ow, ow, ow.
No. Stop. Yes. Oh, cocaine's okay today. Oh, wait. Then everybody would have visions. How cool. Yes. The visions would come back. Ayahuasca for everyone. Yay.
I want to start. I will fund that Kickstarter. I would donate to it.
Yeah.
Just get like 1,000 Mormons together and take ayahuasca.
Oh my gosh. They would be crazy. That would be scary, I think. Actually, according to the guy I interviewed the other day on the Emerald Tablets, he says do the bufa. It's more loving. That's what he told me.
To do the who?
Do you know what bufo is?
Bufo toad?
Yeah, you have to do that because he says it's way better. You have to smoke it like crack. This is what happens when you talk to podcasters that talk to other people because it's random shit and you're like, this is fascinating. I think Zerdus missed out today. I think he would love this conversation.
And you just now you find yourself smoking frogs.
Yeah, that's what's up. And then, I don't know, but he says it's the most loving of all the drugs. Shout out Todd Cave. Yes. So he came on about the Emerald Tablets.
I'm in.
Because of Cat Williams, and Joe Rogan. We can't go there right now. We'll get lost in the sauce. It's a lot.
Well, so he was going on about this because this is new. This is absolutely new to me that Jesus is like a sideline in the Mormon religion.
Mm-hmm.
Because
no, not new at all. Mm-hmm.
I don't think that if you call yourself Christian, you're allowed to put Christ as a sideline character. Like he has to be.
But they do. Yeah.
It's like one of those movies where they like, it makes it seem like Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to be the main character. And then you watch it and then he was just like in there for a cameo. Like on Twins with Danny DeVito. And it wasn't really. Yeah. I think so. And I think that also the big thing is they just want to rope you in enough to where you're like, okay, I have all this like in here and now my whole family's in this. And like, if I leave, oh my gosh, it's so bad. So like, that's how they do it. I mean, honestly, it's weird though, because like, why call yourself Christian? Because it does seem like anyone at all that's been through any kind of like, I guess, normal Christianity, as I'll call it. If you go into a Mormon church and they're just like, oh yeah, that he's just a side piece. He's just like this other character. But they would never admit that. They would never admit this. No. But wouldn't I just like as a Catholic, I feel like after a few times going to church, I'd be like, they don't really talk about J-Man too much. No, they're so brainwashed that, and this is the main Christian, like any Christian denomination that goes to the Mormons, like say at Temple Square, the people that go up to the Mormons coming out, and they do this. They go and confront them on the sidewalk. It's great. YouTube this. It's great. So they'll be like, you're not a Christian, and they will lose their shit. They will absolutely go bananas on you. They will be like, that is not true. Yes. They will be like that. Maybe they're nicer, but it's like a thing. It's like, if he's such a side character, no, they're Christian. No, because they have it like in their mind that he isn't, but he is. It's like the Emerald City and the guy, and he's really running things from behind the curtain, but like nobody knows that, right? So he still appears as the big ta-da, but like really we know that's not
it's not, you know. So that's how they do it. They don't come out and say these things. If they did, I might not speak out, because like people always say, well, just move on with your life. Well, probably I could then, because like then you're not bringing Jesus into it. I really don't care what you do. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, if you want to be occultism, or like if you want to be a Jehovah's Witness, or if you want to be a Jewish, whatever, like not lineage, but actual religion, I don't care what anybody does. But I don't like it that they bring Jesus into the factor and then lie to you and tell you it's all about getting to heaven when it's not. It's about leveling up. This is so much closer to the Kabbalah or, you know, any Gnostic idea than God. Like, right? Then not like Jesus. We'll say Jesus, not God, because who knows what they're calling God. But
well,
anyway,
this author, he's pretty explicit about how magical these were. So he keeps going on. He says that the miracles of Jesus paralleled closely the magic practices of the ancient world, and he gives an example about spittle in John 9:6 and Mark 5:41. And it says that, like Jesus, pagan magicians use spittle to heal the blind, put their fingers in the ears to heal the deaf, which sounds like a wet willy because they're talking about spittle and then putting fingers in ears. And then he employed the same series of acts involved in a detailed gospel healings using foreign words as part of magic spells and incantations. And then it says that saliva magic in Egypt was given new justification by the miracles of Jesus. So this is a very specific claim by this author about how Jesus's magic was really just Egyptian magic.
Well, and you know, we know he spent time.
Was Egyptian magic, right?
Well, and he was very, you know, his mother was Scottish. She was first generation born in America of her family. So they were Scottish, which makes you wonder a lot. Because there's all kinds of things in Scotland that are just amazingly fun back in the day. So... And
this is a part of the glossophilia or glossalia, where you're speaking in tongues. This is also something that's really fascinating to me, because we didn't have this as Catholics, but a lot of other people that I know that grew up religious, they did have this, and it was almost seen as like
it's an abomination at the Mormons now.
Really? So you're not allowed to speak in tongues as a Mormon?
No. Nope. No magical crap at all. They are hiding this. Yeah.
I'm on board with that. You're talking about demons of this, but he's saying the non-Christians do not see a difference between genuine Christian glossolalia and the fraudulent gibberish of lower class magicians and exorcists. And the Christians use objects, rites, words, and formulas charged with divine potency to force demons to yield in accordance with well-known rules of magic. So he's talking about like all Christians are essentially doing these magical incantations to hide themselves from demons and protect them, and that the prayers and the rosaries and everything.
So Mormons don't do any of that. Yes, they don't believe in the cross. They don't believe in rosaries. They don't believe in any kind of. They say it's idolatry. They just wrap it up in that, and funny stuff.
But Moroni gets a pass. Like, you're allowed to have a statue of Moroni.
Yes, they're taking him down. They're taking him down. Did you see? They're not doing him on the new temples. They're not. I really wonder if they're going that route on hiding everything, because I heard that they're also covering up all the symbols on the LDS temple. It's under construction right now. I should just go down there and take a video, but it's behind a fence.
It would be a shame if they leaned away from it. Like if they started turning more into like a Walmart.
I think they're going to hide it. I think it's all going underground, much like the Knights of
Templar. Ever want a chance at me? Yeah. If you want this Agmo to be a Pomo, then you better start putting some more Moronis out there.
Let it be out, right? Let it be out. But nope. And they also used to put for when you get on your app on your phone to see where a nearest Christian church is, it has the crosses. And then to find a Mormon church, they used to have the little statue Moroni. No more. It's all crosses now. And I say we all the time still, but the Mormons do not believe in the cross and do not like the cross and will not wear a cross and will look down on you. If you wear a cross, you will get the evil eye. So
and it's
I don't know why
just
that's
the
representing
cross.
them.
It almost seems like out of all the different denominations Mormons could be against, Catholics, it's so this one is interesting because there's so many parallels between Catholicism and Mormonism, yet they, like, Mormons seem to be anti-Catholic more than anti any other denomination. They specifically call out all of this. No,
the Protestant, I think it was Protestant or Presbyterian. I'll look it up, but one of them they used to call out in the Mormon temple and literally call him the devil. And like he would wear the black cape and it was like it got knocked out because people were like, you better cut that crap out right now. That's not good. You're calling us like devils. And yeah, it was a thing.
You know, I'm so disappointed because every time you mention like the cool parts, you're like, and then they stop doing it.
And then they stop. Yeah. Yeah. They get rid of all the fun things. And they also get rid of like everything, you know, that has anything to do with like magical properties. They want to be seen as very normal people now. Like nothing funny, no funny business.
Well, this whole section seems to be calling out Catholics directly because he's talking about holy water is bad magic, talismanic use of the crucifix. Again, like you just said, don't use the cross. Sortilege by randomly opening the Bible and randomly pointing to a verse, which they consider bibliomancy. The adoration of bones from saints, shout out to all my Catholics, appeals to healing to these bones and sacred relics. That's another Catholic thing that every, I guess, mass is supposed to be built on top of some sort of relic, or they get like a shard of like a bone from the Vatican or something, and they put it in the altar. So every church is supposed to have an unfinished altar with a relic somewhere inside of it, like a Cracker Jack's box, I guess. And then it says that, and even the mass itself. And then he starts calling out specific people. He says that a Dominican monk, Albertus Magnus, well-versed in popular magic, a monk named Roger Bacon, who is a supporter of natural magic, Catholic priests and monks engaged in necromancy and other forms of ritual magic. This is all true. And then that the Medici family had a resident philosopher and astrologer named Marsilio Ficino, who foretold the pontificate of Giovanni Leo X, pontificate meaning becomes the Pope, so that all these different versions of like prophecies and using bones and using magical talismans to ward off spirits, this is all bad.
While Joseph Smith wore a Jupiter talisman. Perfect. But also, they have been known to have kind of weird stuff like this hidden and talk about him digging up his dead brother and getting bones from that. So, I mean, there's no proof of that, but they sure did run in the Wayne Sentinel a actual clip in the newspaper 6 times saying we had to dig up our brother, but we're not messing with him. We're just checking on him.
As you do. That's totally normal.
It's my favorite thing because everybody's saying that we dug him up and that we did bad things. But to prove that we didn't do bad things, we're going to dig him up. So it's the big joke that Alvin, who was his elder brother, had a hand in Mormonism.
I love the logic, though. I love the idea.
Yes.
Like someone thought they were getting away with it.
They're pre-gaming. Yeah, pre-game. It's like, we got to do this and run this in the paper, which was ran by his dad, Joseph Smith Sr., because somebody might see us. And if they see us digging him up, we're going to be in deep shit. So I think we should just tell everyone, which is what they do now. Think about it. The magical hat popped out of nowhere. Just tell them about it. Just bring it out. Have him put it on. That will be better. So, yeah.
Well, and if you've got most people bought in already that won't question it, then it doesn't matter, right? Because then it becomes a real thing to everyone new that's still only a few years in, and they don't realize that it's like this major event that the hat came out.
Yep.
It's smart because now they can start selling hats.
Well, yeah. And then also, you know, it makes complete sense to have the president that's in the skull and bones and also in the owl and key to put the hat on, because I think that's brilliant.
Would you get in trouble if you're so like a Mormon kid and you're out looking in a hat, like in the middle of the public and saying,
and you're like, Mom, I'm Joseph.
I'm trying to talk to angels?
Yeah, I think that would be.
But they say don't do that. You're not allowed. And you're like, oh, I just wanted to be like Joseph Smith.
I just want to be just like Joseph. But if you did that, my husband's favorite thing is to say things like, what if I told my mom, because Joseph Smith said he wasn't going to join any church because he wanted to go look for his own best church. I'm just being like Joseph. And I said, your mom will smack you, I think. Maybe not, but she's not a violent person. She would give him this look, and then she calls him, his name is Casey, but she would go, Casey, like that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It's funny.
But then you snap in line because you're a Mormon.
Yeah, no, we definitely do not. We're the bad ones. We're the bad. Because we're not.
The book started mentioning here too. So here's where it gets into Mormon stuff, and I don't know about any of this. So he says that there's a guy named Lorenzo Dow, which sounds like it's almost like a prototypical version of Joseph Smith, but it says that he became a later leader of Mormonism, and it says when past the age of 13, the evangelist dreamed he was taken up by a whirlwind in the heaven, and his journal said he saw a throne of ivory overlaid with gold and God sitting upon it with Jesus at his right hand. And then it said Brigham Young's brother, Lorenzo Dow, was named after this preacher who had seen the Father and Son. And in 1820, Dow's published journal was on sale 9 miles from Joseph Smith's home. So this is a guy that existed before Joseph Smith knew anything, apparently. And he had a book that was published about having this dream and seeing God and this ivory throne. So my impression is that here's where the book is starting to hint that Joseph Smith's vision was based on someone else's story. This guy right here.
Well, and not only that one, but the Masons have a story so similar that I can't even, and I'm sure you can't even either. But
we're not even talking about that. Come on.
Yes, but you know about that story, and you know it's very similar. So it's a mixture for sure. But I still think he channeled I do. I think he channeled angels also. But
well, do you think Lorenzo Dow also channeled an angel?
I don't know enough about him to make a call on that. I just know for sure on Joseph, like his stuff is there's too many other angels, dead people, all kinds of weird stuff going on there, like 26 total. So it's
this whole section, which I found fascinating. I'm not going to read through it all, but it's talking about exactly this, about all these like 17th century peoples come over to the States. Or weren't the States yet, the New World, and bring all of their mysticism with them. And Mormonism kind of like finds itself at odds with some of that, although it still grew from the exact same groups of people. So that same folk magic is in everybody's culture and everybody's hearts because there was no Mormonism to come over with them, right? Like it spontaneously is created in the 1800s.
Yeah, I mean, I think the people that came here definitely have more of an influence than people realize, but also I think they do their best to expunge and keep this at a high level. So,
another one of the books that was available to Joseph Smith, because this book is interesting in that it mentions all the bookstores that were within like 10 miles of Joseph Smith's house as he grew up, and all the books about the occult and astrology and everything that were available in those bookshops. So another one was called The Anatomy of Man's Body, as governed by the 12 constellations according to ancient astronomy. So this is maybe where some of that like astrological roots of
and now they can't talk about. We don't do astrology anymore in Mormonism at all. That
was for the prophet. He got to wait for the prophet to come back and read astrology.
Well, remember, we have one. He's the prophet too.
Well, and then it jumps directly into mineral rods, divining rods, balls, and peepstones, pebbles, taken from brooks or fields, placed in a hat, or anything else excluded from light when a wizard or witch declared they saw all the wonders of nature, including stores of silver and gold. So this whole thing about the peepstones and looking in the hats originally had nothing to do with being associated with translating like ancient texts. It was really just a very common folk magic way of detecting water and gold and treasure hunting, right? So
yeah, he was very,
and this wasn't a Mormon thing because again, Mormonism didn't exist yet. So people that if you were to just like going down in your horse and buggy or whatever the hell you were driving, and you look over and you see a bunch of people looking in the hats, you'd probably just be like, oh, those are those people looking for gold.
No, because actually, if you were a Mormon doing it, Joseph would kibosh that. So not only Joseph, but many people that helped him, including his closest people to him, started saying they were having vision, like, oh, I had a vision too, and blah, blah, blah. And he kiboshed that. He's like, you don't get to have the vision. You don't get the hat. That's my job. Like Sidney Rigdon, he had a whole vision and stuff, and he shot that down. And funny enough, later on, and I am trying to find the name and I cannot find it, but there is some security guard later, I think this was in the 2000s, that also had a vision, and he got the loss. I want to know about that. This is, I'm going to find his name.
Him for an interview?
Oh my gosh. He actually runs. So he translated the other books of Mormon that were locked up and that Joseph didn't finish. And he has his own branch of Mormonism now. Yes. I'm going to find it. It's a thing. Because that's why Joseph was so careful saying, no, you don't have the authority. So the Mormon church, how they would view him is say, you don't have the authority to do that because you aren't me. And you aren't the prophet of the church. So you can't use a hat and do visions like me. You're not special. So
yet Joseph Smith himself, he didn't come up with this, because the whole premise is that everyone was doing this.
Well, right? he made it special.
Right. Well, he was the last one that got to do it in a big way.
Right.
And now anyone that's looking into a hat, you'd be like, oh, you're doing that weird Mormon thing. You can't do that. Only Joseph Smith did that.
Yes.
When in reality, that was incredibly common for just like folks to do.
People. Yes. And he changed it for his people that followed him. Yep.
And you mentioned last time too that when Mormons get together to eat, you almost do like a divining rod to determine what food to eat. So there's a lot of
that's the crazy people. That was just in that did happen, but not for normal people. That only happened with the Laffertys because they were super like off. They also started to try to do polygamy again, and they killed their sister-in-law. So he also thinks he's the prophet Enoch. Elijah. He's Elijah. And he still thinks that because my friend works at the prison and her husband takes care of him. And she says he's still super batshit crazy and thinks he's the prophet Elijah. And if they don't let him out of prison, that the second coming will never happen. So.
Oh, that sucks for us. Was that good? Is that good or bad for non-Mormons? Like for non-Mormons, if they delay the second coming, does that actually work out in our favor?
We just think he's crazy. I mean, because he did murder a baby and almost cut her head off. So.
Right. But I mean, if you ignore that part.
and the wife. I mean, it's so bad. Yeah. I don't know. He did try to kill his brother. Like, he's super crazy. I think they're just like, he's crazy. I mean, it's just crazy. You know, they wouldn't.
A real Christian would forgive him for all that. I just want to say that.
For sure. But they wouldn't think he was like a prophet. You know what I mean? They would be like, yeah, we forgive him, but he's crazy.
And then this is new to me too, and I'm positive someone had mentioned it before, but this is the first time that I saw it with a lot more detail. They say that several generations of the Smith family were influenced by the magic worldview before the 1800s, and during the Salem witch trials of 1692, the deposition of Samuel Smith of Boxford, 25 years of age, accused Mary Eastie of committing acts of witchcraft, and that a deposition of John Gould, age 56, accused Sarah Wilds of act of witchcraft, and that Samuel's father-in-law, John Gould, that these two are ancestors of Joseph Smith, and that it was basically Joseph Smith's great-grandfather, Samuel, and Samuel's father-in-law. Those are two people that are at the crux of the Salem witch trials, pointing fingers, causing the fervor, was like a great-great-grandpa of Joseph Smith. That's wild to me. How does he connected to Mormons and the Salem witch trials? And he founded, Masons and the William Morgan affair.
Oh,
this
yeah.
Is like,
the William Morgan
huge. Affair. This is not like a little thing.
Don't forget the William Morgan thing. He married his wife, his widow.
Exactly. Okay. Yes. So So is any of this ever brought? Like, does anyone know about this within Mormonism that he's related to Salem witch trials?
No, definitely not. They wouldn't talk about this.
I mean,
this is bad. Like they would say, Heidi, that isn't like actual... that isn't anti. This is what they say: anti-Mormon propaganda.
Wouldn't this be good for Mormons though? That his dad was like witch hunting, or his great grandpa was witch hunting.
I don't know that they'd even want to be associated, because then, the web we weave when we start going down magical hats and stones and stuff,
you
right?
Want to start throwing,
it's not good.
No,
no, we can't do that. No.
And then it also said that in 3 separate interviews, a guy named Lorenzo Saunders said he observed folk magic activity of Joseph Smith at turkey shoots. This is Joseph Smith Sr., not Jr. So his dad was using folk magic and turkey shoots. And it said that Joseph Sr. pretended to enchant the gun so that they could not kill a turkey. When asked how he would do that, he said he would blow in the gun and feel around the lock and then tell them it was charmed so they couldn't kill the turkey. This was a widespread belief in Joseph Sr.'s generation, and that in a 1784 South Carolina manuscript provided a counter charm for guns that were spelled. So he was going around blowing on people's guns and being like, haha, now you won't be able to shoot a turkey. And then they'd have to go and find like the anti-magic for it.
Right, because he had it, right? Just like if they didn't find the gold, because he was a treasure hunter. And also, Joseph was brought up in this at the moment he was born. He was born in a caul, which means inside the sack. And as soon as he was born, that was like a divine sign. So his dad started running around the whole town saying that he was going to be a prophet, seer, and revelator at birth. So this guy's already been doing this. And if you couldn't find something like, I can't find the treasure. Well, that's because the treasure ghosts were there and you didn't do the right thing and you didn't call me right in the right time. So it was always like a reason why they sucked, right? Like, no, I didn't suck. They put it back. They took the treasure away. It was there. And then they came and took it because you didn't kill the right goat that day, whatever, It was well known that he was kind of, it was a situation.
Wait. What version of the Seer Stone? Oh, you're still on the Seer Stones 1.6? We've got the new Seer Stones 2.1, but that's going to cost you.
Yeah. We're going to have to find that security guard's name because, man, it's blocked, but I know all about it and I'll find his name. And he started a whole branch off of the Mormon church and said he finished translating the Book of Mormon. So.
And there's a whole extra chunk of this book that goes into these 1820s articles about local newspaper reportings about the Smith family doing all these different treasure hunts and treasure digs. So, there is
not only there, but affidavits from their treasure looking, their glass looking trials. There is affidavits, which are priceless. Stating
right. It's extensive. The amount of proof that Joseph Smith and his family came from treasure hunting,
magical world,
using seer stones specifically to find treasure. This is all documented, many different sources, like various neutral, like newspapers and neighbors, and this is all happening reported before Joseph Smith is like anything big. He just
he didn't do anything. He's a weird, they're the weirdos in the corner. And the mom was known as a healer, a Scottish healer. And that is actually what saved, I think it saved his life, because they normally would cut the leg off when he got that intense infection from typhoid and it went to his bone. And she actually went and got people from Harvard. Like she was not messing around with some country bumpkin doctor. She had them come from Harvard and evaluate the situation and she told them, you take out the infected bone only and leave it. Don't cut off his leg. And they did. And it took a long time for him to heal because they kept doing this until he got better. But honestly, that is the correct way to do it, to keep the leg. And she knew this and they didn't. So there's that.
This book says that Lucy Mack Smith, I assume that's his mom. also used seer stones, and that their neighbor in New York, Samantha Payne, said that Joseph Sr.'s wife once came to my mother to get a stone the children had found of curious shape. She wanted to use it as her peep stone. And the same age, Joseph Jr., John Stafford, also said, my father had a stone which some thought they could look through, and old Miss Smith came here for it but never got it. So again, here's just more proof that he grew up in this family where everyone thought that you could use these seer stones to find treasure or whatever else. So he didn't. This is where it came from. This is where the whole idea of using seer stones came from. He was surrounded.
And the neighbor had a stone. The whole way he got his stone was he was over digging a well, and the neighbor was there, and the neighbor girl was showing him her stone, and he liked her peep stone. And then they found a stone, and he was like, oh, that's cool. But then the brother of her was like, no, that's my stone. Give that to me. You're just the labor dipshit. Give me that stuff. And he's like, no, I want to look at it. And so eventually he gets him to borrow it to him, and the brother keeps saying like he's going to give it back, and he never did. And he talks about it.
And I didn't. This is also wild to me that Joseph Smith Jr., the Joseph Smith everyone knows as the prophet, his seer stone he found by, like you said, borrowing the neighbor's seer stone to find his seer stone. And then when he found his seer stone, I guess he gave the old seer stone back.
No, he stole that stone and never gave it back.
So he had both. Yeah, that's where all.
Yeah, he just had. And then he found other ones. Like he had his favorite one, and that was the one from the neighbor, the brown one. And then he had a white one, but he never gave it back. And the guy kept asking, like, it's in the affidavits from his glass looking whole thing. And he was like, and then he took it and wouldn't give it back. And they were like, yeah. And then people were like, it's a rock, get over it. Like that he never got it back. So.
It's been described as chocolate colored. Like he had a chocolate colored stone.
There's a picture. Yeah. Have you not seen it? I have it, but I don't want to kick you out.
It goes in. It says, Smith's neighbors confused the descriptions of his stones, but several accounts agreed that teenage Joseph first obtained a white opaque stone in September of 1819, consistent with his age of 14, stated by Joseph Sr. 3 months before he turned 14. And then it says that he used this white glossy stone to locate a stolen mare. The grandpa recovered the beast, which Joe said was somewhere on the lake shore and about to run to Canada. So I guess they actually found the mare by him using this white opaque one. And that's when Joseph Smith was like, damn, this thing's got a little bit of heat on it, you know? So he gets excited and uses that to find his chocolate seer stone.
No, the chocolate seer stone was the one he got from the neighbor.
Okay. So another one was a green one.
He had a lot.
History in Susquehanna County that was
the Susquehanna River.
Have you? Jack Belcher. I guess is the one greenstone with brown irregular spots on it.
The one he loved the best was the brown one, and he just straight up stole it from the neighbor. And the neighbor talks about it over and over, like he was going to give that back, and that's mine. I don't know.
Does that mean the neighbor might have been the prophet?
Right. If it's up to the stone, I mean, he was like, you're not. He's like, I'm going to give it back. I'm going to give it back. I'm going to give it. That's all he did for like 20 years. And then when he was gone, he's like, yeah, I'm not giving. It's never happening. Forget about it. And then even when he dies, they don't give it back. How crappy is that?
Well, I mean, you kind of can at that point if it was used to like talk to the gods. And then more magic. Neighbors stated that Joseph Sr. and Jr. drew circles for treasure hunting, and that the Smiths used the tool to draw these for ceremonial magic. And they even mentioned a special instrument that they use. And it says they would make a circle.
They had a knife.
And Joe Smith claimed that if they threw any dirt, the circle or the money chest would leave. So that's what you were saying. Like, oh, you screwed something up.
You screwed it up.
Money back.
You did this. So if you didn't find it, then that's, what's funny is they were in this for a long time and never once did they find treasure. Never. So like we've got all these people following this guy that says he found magical stuff and he never found other magical stuff. So it's just, I mean, I'm just saying.
And the dagger that you brought up recently, that was also news to me. And this cites an 1830 newspaper that claims, and this is a quote from the 1830s newspaper, a magic circle with a rusty sword. And I guess the rusty sword was supposed to be like a jab at them because they knew it was a dagger, but he was kind of like, look at these idiots with their rusty sword out in the field. So they were actually throwing shade at him a little bit in this newspaper article, but it's
they were always
that they were using this. They were doing magical ceremonies with a magical ceremonial dagger
and symbols. Yes, a ceremonial. I wouldn't be surprised one single bit if he had a chalice too. Like he's got the bag, he's got the stuff, he's got the knife, he's got all. I'm like, where's the cup? They've got the cup. The cup's probably up in the temple for the prophet only. Like. The now prophet, like they've hidden it.
And this is where it keeps getting crazier and crazier for me. They didn't even know what they had apparently until the 1980s, because it says that Hiram Smith family preserved as an heirloom the dagger necessarily for ritual magic. But it says that when they had the authorized inventory of Hiram Smith's relics, on that inventory, it listed dagger Masonic 10-inch stainless steel wooden handle with Masonic symbols on the blade. This is 1982, 1985. So even as recently as the 80s, they thought that this dagger, or were claiming that the dagger was a Masonic dagger, and no one actually had up to this point ascribed like Jupiter or magical talisman, even though in the 1830s, they knew that dagger was a magical talisman. By the 1980s, now it's a Masonic dagger.
Right. Yeah, they fix things all the time. I mean, it's been mentioned a lot, and now there's photos, and with the insignias, there's no doubt. You know, they can't hide it anymore. And same thing with the Book of Abraham. Like they can't hide it anymore. Like I think the things they can't hide, this is what they do. They just put it out, and they're like, yeah, it's always been like that. So,
and this is the main part that I think you brought up that really caught my eye. This is a whole thing about the magus and the talisman. And it says that one side of the dagger is inscribed with the astrological symbol of Mars and a magic sigil for the intelligence of Mars. Next to these is the Hebrew word Adonai. On the other side of the dagger, it's inscribed again with the magic seal of Mars, and that by Joseph Smith's time, books were widely circulated with ritual magic that usually instructed Adonai or other names of gods needed to be written on the blade of a magic sword or a dagger. That was a requirement for seeking a treasure trove. So this was all had to do with magical talismans that Joseph Smith read in a book, and they cite that book as being The Magus by Francis Barrett. So this is the book that he likely found that told him about all this stuff. And he was like, oh man, no one's got this insider knowledge. I'm going to make myself one of these magical talismans, and then I'll be the best treasure digger all around.
Best. Yes, definitely. Well, also, if you look at his talisman, it's not really about treasure. I think it was about ladies, but she did succeed with that. So it was about charmingness. I'm just saying. Yeah, he had, well, it used to be 33 wives, which I found extensively humiliating. Like, that's great. Okay. But now they're saying, oh, upwards of 40. Of course. Okay. I liked it when it stopped at 33.
Even if it was only one or two wives, I think the impressive part is the whole like religion thing and like millions of people considering him a prophet. That's pretty.
And the fact that they were other people's wives, like this wasn't young girls or people brought up in a certain situation where this is what everybody does. They get assigned a husband. Yeah. He's just sending them on their missions. That's where missions came from. And he's like, you know what? I really like Betty. So Betty's husband now needs to go talk to the Lamanites in the far off land over there so I can talk to her. Yeah.
And I guess that aside from this magical dagger with the sigils on it, this book also says that the family itself was big into sigils and talismans outside of just this magical digging. It says both friendly and unfriendly sources show astrology was important to the Smith family, that Brigham Young stated an effort was made in the days of Joseph to establish astrology, and that Hiram Smith's descendants preserved the magical dagger inscribed with Mars, and that his descendants also possess magical parchments inscribed with astrological symbols, planets of the zodiac, and the church president gave the name Baruch Ale. And you were saying there's like a beer company, I guess, that's calling themselves Baruch Ale.
No, it's a pale
what is
ale.
Baruch Ale?
Yeah.
Like, can you summarize?
I don't know that one. That I don't know. I have not heard that, so I'm going to have to study.
Joseph Smith, as church president, gave himself code name Baruch Ale, which had a traditional use as an incantation in magical ceremonies, emphasizing Jupiter, the ruling planet of his birth.
Jupiter. So
he gives himself a special name called Baruch Ale that means Jupiter.
He was obsessed with Jupiter, so that makes complete sense. That his whole thing, Jupiter talisman, Jupiter this, Jupiter that, that was his thing. I'm certain that was probably knowledge definitely passed down to him by whatever he was channeling.
Well, the book here, they mention exactly where they think he got this particular fascination with Jupiter, and like the exact book name. It says that two of the magical parchments depended directly on only one of the 13 editions of Ebenezer Sibley's new and complete illustration of the occult sciences, also published under the alternate name Illustration of the Celestial Science of Astrology. But all editions had identical content. And then there was a bookstore in Hanover, New Hampshire that advertised Arapater's Occult Book of Knowledge and the Complete Fortune Teller. And that this book was the one that had these specific instructions about the magical parchment. So they're basically saying that this is the divine source of the Jupiter astrological.
His fascination. Okay,
it came from Ebenezer Sibley's new and complete book. So it's fascinating to like see where he got all these different ideas that slowly come together and form, I guess, Mormonism.
Oh yeah. It's been a long time since I've gone through this like extensively on the book. I picked at it to have to go and do presentations, but it sounds like I need to reread this because your information changes when you have different knowledge. So now I know about certain things that I didn't know when I read it. Do you know what I mean? Like the parchments, like the knife, like the hat, like it's all changed because it's different now than it was when I first got out.
Right. When you read it the first time, it was like, oh, no one's actually heard of this before. This is all like,
I thought it was a lie. Yeah, I thought it was a lie. I even though I was an ex-Mormon, there was no validity in it. So I was like, maybe he was crazy, whatever.
Well, some of that is maybe explained in this passage because it says that there's a reason why Joseph Smith possessed a talisman but did not display it to others during his life. And that's because magic books instructed that a talisman to be worn around the neck, carried on the breast, and that a amulet was worn under the clothing next to the skin of the person seeking its powers. So this, like, you were supposed to kind of keep it protective because if you told someone you had a talisman, that takes some of its magic away, and you also wanted it touching your skin. And that
this is exactly about the garments. You know that, right? This is exactly.
It eventually turns into the little symbols that I guess get embroidered into the magical underpants that are facing inward,
and they have to touch your skin. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. But that this is just like a modern, and that's why I'm saying that there needs to be a 21st century prophet that comes in and like issues out like sports bras and issues out like, boxers,
like a more attractive,
it would still have the talisman. It would still touch your skin.
Yeah.
It would just be 21st century. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they have updated them and they consider that they are 21st century because when they started, they were long johns with a butt flap. So now they're like, what are you complaining for? You guys have got these nice boxer shorts for men and a t-shirt. For women, it's a little more, I think the women are a little more because we have to wear a bra over the top, and then you can't have like a tank top. It's all a big thing. So I think, but it's the same way. You're not supposed to show them. You're not supposed to talk about them. You're not supposed to like have a little piece slipping out the side or out the top. You're supposed to keep that secret.
Magical pasties and butt plugs, which could be just as secret. Like you could still have them, no one would have to know, and
no one would put it in the butt. But it could be like the pasties and what about a patch? Like, you know, the back patches for pain, like lidocaine patch, like a patch. I could see that working.
Reach out,
but they want modesty.
Who's the current leader?
Russell M. Nelson. Russell M. Nelson, you need a revelation.
We've got some ideas here. Me and Heidi are cooking on some things.
What if he does because he's an Allen Key member and he's like, listen, Thomas, you know better.
Invite me to the club and I'll shut up about it.
Yeah. Then if you go silent, I'm going to be sad because I'll know. I'll be like, Thomas, what did you do? You have on underwears. It's going to be hot in Florida.
There's some quotes about the whiteness in here, which is a new one I'm still learning about. The white and rightful, or the right, what is it?
White and delightsome.
White and delightsome. So it says, Smith's official history describes this 1823 visitor that he gets. He had on a loose robe of the most exquisite whiteness. I could discover that he had no other clothing on but this robe. It was open, and I could see into his bosom. The messenger instructed him to translate a book deposited, written upon golden plates, giving the account of the former inhabitants of the continent and sources whence they sprang, and that this ended when he ascended until he entirely disappeared. So this is the first example of Joseph Smith writing about his first kind of like weird religious experience, and that the golden plates are coming. Like he kind of planted the seed here.
Right. Yep. And Moroni about the whole whiteness. But you have to understand also, it does say that he was exceedingly white and all that, but you do know he was also supposed to be a Native American.
Well, like a white Native American with lots of lemon juice.
Yeah, he's a white Indian. Yes. That was always my favorite later. I was like, wait, what? Okay.
So that is Joseph Smith's 1823 description, right? But then this book mentions a description from 1813. So 10 years before
there were four.
Right.
There were four first.
So Joseph Smith had four different experiences?
Well, it's supposed to be one. And we're supposed to only know about the first one, like that we know that the church said, okay, this is the true story, but the true story changed 4 times. So there's 4 different accounts of the first vision. There was only one vision, but there's 4 accounts, and the church members don't know that. I didn't know that. I thought there was only one. This all came out later.
So the one vision that has 4 different versions of the vision happens in 1823. But 10 years before Joseph Smith ever reports a vision, there's a report by a guy named Henry Bell in 1813. And Henry Bell's experience was published and something that Joseph Smith probably read. And here's his experience. He said, "Myself yet awake, there appeared unto me an ancient man standing by my bedside in all white, having a long and broad white beard hanging down to his girdle. And that he vanished away out of my sight. But he said, will you not take time to translate the book which is sent to you out of Germany?" So this guy had like a German book that was Martin Luther's Table Talk. And this was what he used of like, hey, translate Martin Luther's Table Talk into English and spread it to these new people. And he gets this vision. So now 10 years later, Joseph Smith basically gets the exact same dream and the exact same message from the same white dude, but this time, instead of saying translate Martin Luther's book, he says you're going to find a brand new book with these golden tablets. So it seems like he reads a story and he's like, oh, I can use that. Like that's a great premise. And
or like maybe he was vivid dreaming, like that guy we're going to talk about later. Do you know that guy later that we were going to talk about? It's interesting, and I think this is why he was fascinated with this. He was like one of the main people about lucid dreaming, and I think this is why, to be honest.
because
he's like
he
the
wants
father
to get the dream.
Lucid dreaming. Yes. Yes. And I think this is what he's relating it to.
And what Heidi's talking about is next month's episode, Monthly Mormon Mondays, we will talk about Mormon lucid dreaming, and one of the earliest people involved now, another guy from the 1800s, right?
1900 to and above. And actually, he was one of the main people that started like the American Psychiatric something Society. He was not a cuckoo. He wasn't crazy. I mean, I don't know how you want to judge it, but he was like the Jung. Yeah, I don't know. He was like the Jung of his area, I guess. But yeah, it's very interesting. And they tested it. This is like tested. So
this part, man, there's so many different avenues we can go down here. I just want to briefly touch on this one because they talk about Moroni after this, but that there's this thing called the salamander letter, and the salamander
you don't know about the salamander?
Well, I do know. I only know about the salamander letter because I saw it on like the Greatest Cons of All Time series, where it's this guy like basically fake writes this letter and convinces
Mark Hoffman,
the Mormon church. Yeah,
but it wasn't fake. But it wasn't fake. It was just the wrong animal. It was remember when I told you that Joseph Smith saw a toad and got punched by the toad, and it's the same effing story, but with a salamander. And part of me wants to say that it wasn't a fake. What if the Mormon church knew it was going to come out and, he got punched by a toad and a toad was treasure guarding. So why don't we just have this guy that we know that's pretty good friends with all of us in arts and antiquity dealer with, stuff. Why don't we have him write it up and just change it to salamander? And now if you bring it up to anyone, that Joseph Smith talked to a toad, they'll say, no, that was a fake. Brilliant.
Well, it started out as a toad, and then it transitions into a amphibian or reptile-like creature, and then that's where they try to turn it, or they fraudulently turn it. But the
toad part was real. Yes, the toad was 100% documented that Joseph Smith got punched by a toad, and it was documented in affidavits from his neighbors, so it wasn't a lie. It's just not the right thing.
So help me understand this part, because the very last sentence of this says that that these statements by Willard Chase and Benjamin Saunders, but that the neighbors heard the Smiths use a reptile image in describing the Moroni appearance in 1823. So we're saying that Moroni started as a toad.
He had, to the neighbor, told them that it was a toad, and the neighbor, I would maybe say the neighbor was just full of shit, but here's the thing. He made an affidavit in court saying this. It's not like he just said to some reporter guy that came by, like, no, he was talking to freaking toads. Like, no, this guy had written a descriptive affidavit, which people can go look up, Willard Chase's affidavit. And they say it's because he hates it.
Only because it's not something that like South Park made up in like 2008, right? If anyone made it up, it goes back to the very foundation of Mormonism.
Well, and here's my thing. Like, if you know anything about what happened to poor Mark Hoffman, and if he'll ever talk to me, I will talk to him. But I think that they did this. I think that the church tricked him into this for money.
Didn't he go to jail? I thought he went to like prison for this.
He's in prison still. Yes, my friend takes care of him and the other guy together. But here's what happened to him in prison. He used to sing like a canary. He used to talk about this all the time. He used to talk about how, he did this and ha to the church and blah, blah, blah. Well, all of a sudden he tried to unalive himself, and supposedly on death row with all these people taking care of you, and you're alone in your cell, and people are walking by doing checks, because I do the checks at my mental hospital. You have to sign off that you're checking on these people and that they're alive and that they're okay and what position they're in. Like, it's very detailed. So in 12 hours, no one saw him on the floor, pass the F out, completely bleh, and no one cared for 12 hours. This is why I think it was a conspiracy to get him. He was on his arm, on his right arm, which is his document forging arm, for 12 hours. And the only thing that happened to him was he woke up and his arm was permanently damaged for life, nerve damage. He will never forge another document again. You tell me that's not weird. I think they were in on it.
Weird things happen all the time and confined. Look at Jeffrey Epstein, who nothing
weird there. Shit happens. Right? It does.
It's just he just proves that flukes happen.
It's a fluke. And I do think that the church paid him. I think the church paid him, in my opinion, to write this. Also, after that point, he never spoke again, ever again, will not speak to press ever again. Somebody shut him up. And I can tell you that right now. I don't think that he pipe bombed himself. Let's get real. He it's a whole thing. And I don't think he pipe bombed anybody else either, for my personal opinion, but that's just me.
Well,
I don't know.
We're gonna have to go and do like a whole deep dive on him for a whole episode.
He's a big book. I got his book. It's a big one. Yeah. Salamander story. So
okay, the salamander frog thing I want to get into in the distant future, but this one, this is probably the final one that I'll bring up for now. We can keep going on this one. But that the word Moroni might have also just been a thing that Joseph Smith lifted from somewhere, that it wasn't just completely arbitrary. So it says that according to his neighbors is when he saw these plates in 1823. But it mentions that he called it Moroni, and that this was important because as a surname, Moroni is common in Italy, that a lot of Italians that lived in the United States in the early 19th century had these surnames, Moroni, 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 and that all these different variations mean a man with a dark or swarthy complexion, which is kind of funny just because he's supposed to be white.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these dark Italians, I guess like Sicilian style Italians, that these are Moroni, Moroni, and that's where the name comes from, and that's where the name of Moroni of the Mormons comes from. And that this guy named Robert F. Smith notes that the dark association in the etymology of the name Moroni was due to the dark color of salamanders in Normandy. So the word Moroni actually comes from the word salamander. So there might be a chance that Joseph Smith naming it Moroni was him actually saying, yes, it's a salamander, which does give more credit to the damn salamander papers in a really weird way.
Yeah, it does, because it makes me really wonder what happened there. If it was like a coerced payment, this guy was fascinated with retrieving actual real documents from the church. He never wanted just money. He wanted items that they had, like an original Book of Mormon or an original this or that. So he was very fascinated with that. So I think they could have conned him into like, okay, well, you do something for us and we'll do something. It's very much like the mob anyways. Like, and if you go back to the Danites, I don't even want to get into that, but they will kill for their purpose. I mean, like you said, they're not always a peaceful people, but maybe they got smarter, right? Maybe they became more like the mob. And you do know that they helped the mob set up Las Vegas. Like, there is mob ties all over the Mormons. So it's not all white and delightsome. Let me tell you.
Are allowed to gamble?
No.
At all? Scratch off tickets?
At all. Ever.
What about board games? Can you play dice?
Yes, you can play board games, but you can't play money.
What about Monopoly? Can you play Monopoly?
Anything that's not real money. Just for fun.
Can you play poker for fun?
They look more down on poker, but I think you could, as long as it was just for fun, like for candy or something. But they look more down on that for sure.
What if you took the candy that you won and sold it?
You're going to be the funnest Mormon ever if you join. You're going to have like, well, I'm in my bishop's interview. I didn't gamble for money, but I mean, I sold it for money, but
yeah, I mean, I gambled for the candy and I sold the candy for money.
I mean, they're going to look down upon it, but also it's all about how much you want to tell, right? Like most of us learned by our third bishop's interview, we were perfect in every way. You just you're not talking about masturbation for the third time with the bishop and you're 13. It's super uncomfy. So you just never do that. Whether you did it or didn't do it is irrelevant. You didn't do it. Period. Dot. Same thing
just lean
with
into
everything else.
You should be like, oh yeah, I found this new technique where like my legs go over my head. What would happen?
They would die. It depends. The bishop would either be really into it or the bishop would be like, oh my gosh, we have to pray for her now. Like, I don't know. I was always terrified.
That was always the
I was
joke
always like,
in like the Catholic confession booths that it would be like, go on, tell me more. Don't leave out any details.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's what they do. The Mormons do the same. They want every detail. Like, how did you do that? How was that done? What were you doing? What were you thinking about? I mean, what did you use? Like, they write it all down. I don't know if it's recorded or not, but they definitely put it. It's in your file. You got a file. Yeah. So you don't want to be the file person. Like I said, we all figured it out pretty quick. No one had to tell us by the second, third time. Like everybody was perfect. My husband's like, I used to laugh all the time because he was outwardly like, no, I'm not doing it. It's stupid. I'm 16. I don't give a shit. Like, this is dumb. You people are stupid. And so he just kind of quit going to church. And he's like, I would party with them on the weekends. I would go party with the same guys that were like the church leaders in the boys group, like for the boys that weekend. And I would see them there at the same party, drinking and smoking weed with me, but they were perfect on Sunday also.
and you would have to go and like report to them.
No, he never did. But you could squeal. But like, I mean, they don't report, but they run the things. So like every class has like a class president, right? Like if you're in the 10-year-olds, they got the perfect girl and their two little people. Everything's a trinity. So they got their first counselor and the second counselor, just like the Mormon prophet has his first counselor and second counselor. So they have this of everything, like of the Relief Society for the women, of the boys, of the men, of the kids, of the kids. No, not so much. If they're like under 10, not so much. I don't think so. But it's like a class president. And always it would be the people like I was really good. Like I was a virgin when I met my husband, everything, like none of that. And I would always get this girl. And I finally said something because I'm like, why is she always the class president? Everybody at school knows she's a whore. Like, I don't understand this. I finally said something because it pissed me off a lot. I'm like, I'm never the class president. And like, she's completely like off the rails. And he finally said to me, it's not about her sometimes. Sometimes the calling is to help the person become better. And then she got pregnant. And I was like, well, I said what I tried to say something, you people. Like, she's 15. Now she's got a baby coming. Like, for God's sake, nobody help her.
But on that path to heaven.
Yeah. I was like, well, she wasn't married. You can't do that yet. So they don't make them, but all the Mormon girls that get pregnant are not made, but highly encouraged to give away their kids. Like, you're not going to keep that baby. That baby belongs in a better family without you. And you are just the vessel. So give that baby to a home that's better than you.
Are there Mormon shotgun weddings?
There is, but a lot of the time it's more nowadays. Back in the day, it was shotgun wedding, which my grandma, not this one, but her daughter, my grandma was 13 when she got pregnant. And there was kind of a shotgun-ish wedding, but my grandpa wanted to do it. So it was like, fine. But his mom found out about it. So they're like, we're pregnant. And he's 14 and she's like 13 and he's almost 15. And his mom was like, oh, you don't say. Well, tomorrow we are going, and she was like Presbyterian. She wasn't Mormon. And they were here because there's an Air Force base close by. And so she was like, we're going on a trip on Thursday. So pack your suitcase for some fun and we're leaving. So then they literally didn't tell him they were moving and they just like left all their shit there and sent the movers. And my grandma's like pregnant and like, where are no cell phones, none of it. Like, where are you type situation. So they kept him kind of under lock and key for a while and tried to keep him like not talking to her in any way, shape, or form. Well, he ran away like 30 something times and would write her letters and like steal a car. He was getting in deep shit. Like he would steal a car and try and make it back as far as he could. And if it ran out of gas, then he'd steal another car and they'd catch him and send him back. And finally, one time, this police officer, he'd caught my grandpa like, I don't know how many, over 10. And he finally looked at him and he said, exactly what is he running away from or to? Because I keep getting this kid in these random weird little towns in Nevada or wherever he'd end up. And he said he's got a pregnant girlfriend. And by this time, my grandma had the baby. My uncle is like 1 by the time my grandpa makes it back. And he said, you know, my advice to you, sir, is let him go. This isn't working. So they let him go. My grandpa came right back here and got married to her. And they were 14 and 16. And guess what? They made it. They got married until the day they died. And they had 4 kids before they were 18 years old.
It's a classic American love story.
Yeah, no schooling. He literally told my grandma, like, she has all these letters that I inherited. I'll dig ditches for you. He did. He did. For a long time, he had to be a laborer. And he had these big old forearms. He was a big old dude, but he just told her, I love you. Like, and he never converted to Mormonism till his probably late 30s, early 40s. And then he finally went through the temple with her, like maybe 5 years before he died. It was a big deal. So, he died really young. He died at 62. So, yeah.
Do you get any special benefits for joining like sooner than later? Like if you don't join until you're 40 or something, do you have to sit in the back row once you get there?
No, only the people that masturbate. They have to sit in the. No, but they can't take the sacrament, because they're like, no sacrament for you today. So like if you're a kid and you're like 15 and you're not taking the sacrament for like 1 week, 2 weeks, everybody starts noticing, right? You're like, yeah, no bread for me today.
Because they told the guy in the room and they're like, you're not allowed to.
And they're like, you're not allowed for depending on how severe your issue is, like it could be upwards of a year, no sacrament. So
you like really got crazy. You used to tell them like all the crazy things.
This is their favorite. This is the favorite thing that they love to say. So you date now because you can't date till you're 16. So they're like, when you're dating, has there been any heavy petting? This is their favorite word to use. My husband was laughing about it so bad the other day. He's like, you remember those bishop interviews about heavy petting? I'm like, oh my gosh, I never wanted to hear this word again in my life. He's like, no, it's so funny, right? He's like, what exactly is heavy petting? And he was like going off about it. And I was like, why are you bringing this traumatizing shit up?
It's and like second base, right?
Yeah, it's like more
second and a half.
It's like
base?
Second and a half base. Yes. And he's like, wasn't that funny? And I'm like, no, that was fucking traumatizing. Why? And he's like, I don't know. It's just funny to me. He's like bringing up all this crazy stuff the other day. I'm like, stop it. I already talk about this 5 days a week.
Just imagine any other context where there's like some 60-year-old dude talking to a 16-year-old child.
Oh no.
This,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No. Guess how old the bishops are? They're not always 60. Sometimes they're hot and like 35. No.
You're selling me again.
I remember I had a hot bishop and I was like, I ain't telling him shit. This is embarrassing. Like, I'm not telling him anything because I'm good. I'm good. Like, it does make you be good because you don't want to have this conversation. You don't. You're like,
can't you just lie? Isn't that easier?
Yeah, you do. But like, you're so indoctrinated. I'm like, Jesse, you can't touch me there. I'm not talking to the bishop for you. Like, forget about it. I'm not doing that. That's embarrassing, and they know what you mean too, because they also would have to do it. And then like they do lie because I know people that have gone on their missions that were full on having full blown sex and supposed to be like virginistic, perfect people. And they went on their mission and in the middle of their mission, like have babies born and different things. Yeah. Or like their mission calling
all the way to the ranks and you get high enough, then you become like impervious to all that, right? So even if you lied at every one of those interviews, if you get to that certain stature, then you're good to go.
Yeah, you could lie, but not if a baby comes out though. Then you're screwed. Like that has literally happened where they're like, no, I've done everything well, and all is white and delights, and then the baby boy pops out 4 months into your mission. It's a bad situation, especially if the girl tells, then it's a whole thing. So they're going to bring her in and they're going to grill her. They're going to be like, who is the dad? And depends on how strong your lady is and how devoted you are. Because she's probably going to tell on you.
So these have been more Mormon pro tips from Heidi the Exmo and Thomas the, what am I again?
No, you're the Mason Mo.
The Mamo. The Mamo.
Oh, I love it. But you shouldn't be a Mo. Isn't none of this traumatizing? You probably think it's funny.
Well, everything's a Mo.
Yeah. If you have sex before marriage and you're even as old as you are, you also get to go talk to the bishop, just so you know that.
Only if you're Mormon, though.
Yeah. But you want to be a Mormon. So you can't ever be with a lady again unless you get married.
I'm going to be a Gnostic Mormon, so I don't have to listen to I've got my own temple. I'll build my own in my backyard. And then what are they going to do? You
think he read the Gnostic stuff about Belicides and like all of the stuff about Abraxas? And he's like, this is the God of all gods, so I'm going to make him my God. We'll get into that later. But
I legitimately think that whatever he read that seemed like it might get him on the fast track to finding gold, that became his God originally.
Money.
Right? Mars and Jupiter and all that.
Well, you do know there was a guy. You need to look up Lumen Williams. I'm pretty sure it's Williams. The first name is Lumen because I found it hysterical. Like bringer of light. I was like, yes, this is so good. So anyways, I'm pretty sure Williams is his last name. I'll make sure. But he came to his town. And he was like right before he found the book, and he was reading through like Greek texts and different things to all the people like, look, this is magical because look, I can read this book and blah, blah, blah. And so they thought he was magical because if you're like a chicken farmer and you've never seen anybody talk like this or read like this or do Greek, you probably did think that was really magical, and he was kind of known as he was a doctor, sort of, but like a self-proclaimed doctor. And he had traveled the world, which is why I think he gave him the Magus. I do think this. But anyway, because what are you going to give the crippled kid? Right? What are you going to give the kid that can't go work in the field? You're going to give him something he can do. And back then, books was it. That's all there was. Like if you couldn't go do the field stuff. So I think he gave him some books, but also this is Emma, his future wife's uncle. All right. So anyway, hilarious whole story is that he was doing this very same thing, the charlatan act. And if you go look up the book of Pukei, Pukeye, like Pukei, okay, hilarious. This guy that is the printer where he takes the Book of Mormon and they're like, you're going to print this. And he's like, this is the best bullshit I've ever read. Like, this is hilarious. And so Martin Harris was like, print it because I have money. You're going to do what I say. And he's like, yeah, I'll print it. So then he writes a book and it's called, instead of the Book of Mormon, the Book of Pukei. And he puts it out to the point where they actually had to put a cease and desist to stop him and go get an actual copyright for the Book of Mormon so he would cut it out because he was making fun of them, talking about this William Lumens that came to town and taught all this stuff and taught the future prophet seer, blah, 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 like just hardcore going ham on Joseph and like his family and all this. You've got to read it. It's hilarious.
Yeah, that sounds
have you read the Book of Mormon?
I read it when I was in the military, but I didn't know what the hell I was reading at the time.
But you get how they talk, like, and then thouest and thy and the Bible. And he does that in the Book of Pukei. He does it exactly. And then thy blah, blah, blah. It's so fun. If you've read it at all, you'll get it. And it's hilarious. Like, I can't imagine back then. It was probably stand-up comedy back then. And it pissed them off. It really pissed them off.
We'll have to cover that one too. So on the agenda,
we'll do the Book of Pukai.
We'll do the Book of Pukai, and then the next episode is going to be about Mormon lucid dreaming, which I'm excited about.
Yes, and you do know this lucid dreamer guy. A, he was a hoe, so he's hilarious. But B, he actually has like significant writings on this because he went and studied it in a tribal setting with like pygmies. It's fantastic. It's so good.
I'm excited about this. Yeah, I just randomly found him. I was doing a completely separate dive into lucid dreaming, and this name came up, and I don't know why I recognized it, and he ended up being like a Mormon guy. So this is going to be a fun one.
So good. Oh, it's great. You're going to love it. If you can get your little hands on the thesis that he wrote about religion being only fear. Sound familiar? Yeah. Riding the line like Mormons do, because he leaves and becomes an exmo. And he makes his thesis writing about how God is just fear and religion is just fear. I would love to read it, but I cannot find it. But you seem to know how to find certain things. Yes, I'll send you the name of it. Yeah, it's great.
Do you have any shows or projects or anything to look out for?
Yes. Sure. I am Heidi Luv. I'm at the Unfiltered Rise, everywhere podcasts are served, and I'm on a bunch of them, so you should be able to find me. But on Patreon, I am doing Murders, Mormon, and Mayhem with the Blood Atonement series, because it's all about Mormons that have been involved in some sort of murder and or crime. Right now, we're doing murders. We just finished up Ted Bundy, because if you didn't know it, Ted Bundy was a Mormon. And so it gets really fun and interesting, but also even like Charlie Chaplin had ties to a Mormon murderer. So you just never know what you're going to get there. So go and find us at Patreon/Unfiltered Rise and join for $5, because like that's less than a Starbucks. Let's get real. So
and for every $5, every time someone donates, another little Mormon sees Moroni, right? Or another little Mormon puts on their magic underpants for the first time.
Yes, it's true. It's true. It could be true. And I need you to help me make some magnificent, funny intros. This is great.
We'll do it. Well, I guess until next time, I'll play us out with a little commercial of something we're working on. And if you haven't seen it yet, go and look for my Bach Saga episode with Juan. It's 5.5 hours. On YouTube, it is incredibly censored because it is a wild story that you can't talk about without being censored. But it'll be on Rumble. Probably by the time you're watching this, it should be on Rumble for free too. But just look for Occult Book Club Bach Saga.
Man.
You guys,
is it because of the
lucid dreaming?
Homunculus? Yes.
If you haven't heard Bach Saga, you are not prepared. No. I guarantee you are not prepared.
I'm going down there because we got to do the Book of the Cow too someday. But we should do a big series of our Book of Mormons. We should call it something funny. I don't know.
Or we're writing a whole new thing with X Church. We're creating a brand new Mormon temple. So just wait for it.
Oh, yes. There you go.
Shout out, Andreas.
There you go. Andreas, much love.
Deep in the woods, what are they doing in there? Bohemian Grove, cremation of care.
The Bohemian Grove Cremation of Care playset comes with a random Grove member, light up flaming effigy, and of course, an owl. Paranoid American playsets, collect them all at paranoidamerican.com.
Disclaimer, these are custom art creations and not toys meant for wimpy little new world order babies. Don't eat the art. Don't sue the artist. For more details, visit paranoidamerican.com.